Hello classmates and random people on the internet. This is the first episode of AP Government Crash Course. Our first topic is covering American political beliefs and public opinion. I want to start off by putting some key ideas in your head. First up is the idea of political culture, which are the collective beliefs and values that a nation's populace holds. Here's some examples of what I mean. Americans hold freedom very, very close, and it's, in fact, probably, I think, the most common word that comes to mind when people think of America. Equality is also another huge core value that Americans hold. Things like equal protection under the law, equal economic opportunity, and equal voting rights are all things Americans believe in. Notice I said equal economic opportunity, not economic equality. Americans do not hold a belief in economic equality, meaning everyone has the same wealth. That would be a communist ideal, not an American one. Another key value is democracy. Americans believe in things like consent of the governed, a John Locke ideal, and that majority rules, but minorities have rights and those rights should be protected. Something common in American politics is the distrust of our government. This lack of trust following World War II, and some attribute this growth to something called political efficacy. Political efficacy, that's E-F-F-I-C-A-C-Y, is one's belief that their vote and say does not count in the realm of politics. Our next big topic is political socialization. Do not confuse this with the countries moving more to the left or becoming more socialist. That's not what political socialization is. Political socialization is the formation and passing on of political views to the next generation. So what are the factors relating to political socialization? How are people's views created, and where do they come from? The astute among you probably already have figured out that the family is the most important factor in political socialization. That is, you're more likely to believe what your parents believe than anything else, especially if they're very politically polarized, both of your parents, that is. Another factor is someone's education. Themes such as freedom and democracy are passed on to people in our education system. There's also a strong correlation between higher education and increased voter turnout. That is, the people who are more educated are more likely to go out and vote. Social groups are also a major factor. Things like your race, religion, and gender play huge roles in what you may believe. Political ideology is another key term you need to know. Someone's political ideology is what they believe about politics, policy, and the role that government should play in our lives. The two main American ideologies are liberal and conservative. I won't go into the differences here as you can easily Google them, but yeah, I'll leave that up to you. Now we're going to wrap up by talking about public opinion and how people measure it. In the good old days, polling may have been done using something called a straw poll. A straw poll could be done by measuring things like crowd size, the level of applause, or just by asking people's opinions off the street. Polling isn't always accurate, however. A famous example of bad polling is when the Literary Digest, a very popular newspaper at the time, sent out 10 million ballots to gauge public opinion on the presidential race. They received 2 million ballots back, which is an insane amount for a poll. However, this predicted a landslide victory for Ralph Landon, who was running against FDR at the time. As history shows, though, FDR won by a landslide himself. Why? The magazine's target audience were mainly rich people, completely avoiding and disregarding FDR's main support group, working-class Americans affected by the Great Depression. Now, we have a system called scientific sampling. Scientific sampling works by using random sampling where equal opportunity is had for each member of the population. Meaning, if there are 75 white people in a population and 25 Hispanic people in that same population, Hispanics should have 25% voice in the poll and 75% whites. Scientific sampling also requires that you remove all bias from your questions. You'll receive a dramatically different result by asking, "Do you think Obama is a bad president?" than you would by asking, "Do you approve or disapprove of the way Barack Obama is handling his job as president?" Finally, we're into the effects that polls have on our democracy. Polls let people express their opinions. This allows for politicians to see what the public thinks about certain issues. However, some think this is a bad thing, as it turns leaders into followers who just do as the majority think they should, instead of doing what might be unpopular but still better for the country. Polls may also result in a bandwagon effect. For example, if we see that 55% of people support Donald Trump, more people may be inclined to support him because he's the more popular candidate. That wraps it all up. Please let me know what you guys thought. This episode did not contain all the information we need to know, but it covers the highlights. I really hope you guys enjoyed.